Welcome to my Vision News. Two news stories. First one is from Vallega, Western Oromia. Some students have been kidnapped. 9 students have been kidnapped. Their identities have been revealed by some news sources. Who is being blamed for this abduction? Where did this incident happen? And secondly, viewers, it seems that the Tigray side has launched a new campaign about the presence of Eritrean military and Amhara forces and that they are committing atrocities in Tigray. A relatively new campaign, though since the signing of the peace agreement we have been seeing statements from Tigray side about alleged atrocities being committed by Amhara forces and Eritrean military. But a new campaign has been launched. Dr. Tedros tweeted a few hours ago. What does this indicate? Does it mean there are some unresolved issues which are becoming an obstacle to the full implementation of the peace deal signed last month? First, viewers, Amharic news sources are reporting that some students have been kidnapped in Vallega. Whatever we are receiving from Vallega is disturbing. Civilians dying, forces fighting each other. We have been reporting for the last 7 days or so that there was fighting in Vallega between Oromia regional forces and Amhara forces and Amhara militia members. So forces of fighting, regional forces, militias too, locals being armed, ethnic Amharas being armed. OLA already has its presence in Vallega. Civilians are the victims of this conflict. Both sides accusing each other of killing hundreds of civilians. Ethiopian National Defense Force has entered Vallega, but even ENDF is being made controversial, especially Oromia side, Oromo activists, they are making ENDF controversial. So a lot is happening. Maybe in some future videos, we'll try to analyze more what is happening in Vallega. So far in this video, we want to share with you the news about abduction of some students who were abducted in Vallega on Thursday. Reportedly, 9 students have been kidnapped. They were on their way towards Dambidolo University and their vehicle, their bus was stopped in West Vallega, Gimbi, Woreda, Guliso, Kabale. And Oromo Liberation Army is being blamed for this incident. It is being said that OLA fighters stopped this bus. OLA fighters thoroughly searched the entire bus and OLA fighters allegedly demanded ID cards from all the students, and those students who were found from the Amhara region, they have been kidnapped. Their whereabouts are unknown. Their mobile phones are switched off. Their parents, family members are unable to reach these students. Dambidolo University is not aware of the whereabouts of these students. Their names have been made public. Their pictures are also being shared by some news sources. No statement from Oromo Liberation Army so far who is behind the abduction of these innocent students. They are students, they are not fighters. Their only crime is that they are studying at a university. And that is why they have to travel through Vallega. This is their only crime. They were not armed. Their only crime is being a student and being from one particular ethnic group. And it is happening both ways. Oromos, Amharas, both are targeting each other. Amhara locals have been victims of massacres in the past too. And Oromos have died too, but so far no constructive intervention from the government. Students are still missing. Secondly, viewers, the second news story is from Tegarai, where a renewed campaign is being seen from Tegarai side about the presence of Eritrean military and Amhara forces in Tigray. This is not a new development because we know that when a peace deal was signed at the start of November, since then we have been seeing statements reporting from Tigray official news outlets, statements of Tigray command, statements about atrocities being committed by Eritreans and Amhara forces in Tigray. Even Tigray regional government issued some official statements too. So it's not something new. But if you have been monitoring this situation, within the past few days, there was relative restraint on the part of Tigray. Almost no reporting was done by Tigray backed news sources. Getachew silent, Tigray External Affairs Bureau silent. Peace deal was being implemented. But since yesterday, we are seeing resumption of this campaign from Tigray's side. DWTV last night claimed that Amhara forces were committing atrocities against civilians in Salamati. DWTV shared some numbers that dozens of innocent civilians, Tigrayans, have been killed by Amhara forces in Salamati. And DWTV mentioned Eritrean military too, that Eritrean military was also committing atrocities in Tigray, though Eritrean military is not in Salamati. That is what I know because what we covered while the fighting was going on, we saw back then that there was no Eritrean military on this front, Salamati front. But in DWTV reporting, there was mention of Eritrean military too, that it was involved in atrocities against civilians in Tigray, maybe on some other front. Now, after that, we saw that Dr. Tedros spoke. Dr. Tedros shared a tweet a few hours ago and he tagged an AP's story, Associated Press, on the 2nd of December published a story that Eritrean forces were allegedly killing Tigray civilians. It was published around 10 days ago. And Dr. Tedros shared this AP story just 7 to 8 hours ago on his timeline. Why is that? A 10-day-old news story is being shared by Dr. Tedros. Dr. Tedros' opinion is not his personal opinion. We know that he is in touch with Tigray's top command, Tigray's top leadership. So I personally feel that some issues are still unresolved, especially withdrawal of Eritrean military and withdrawal of Amhara forces from Tigray. If these issues are unresolved, it means that disarmament has not been completed. Heavy weapons. Disarmament of heavy weapons could not be completed, it seems, because this new campaign of which Dr. Tedros is part as well indicates that all is not going well between the two sides. Good thing is that so far differences are not being made public. The two sides are trying to iron out the differences, which is a very positive thing. Tigray side is not accusing Ethiopian federal government. The two still have trust between them. Tigray's criticism is against Amhara forces, against Eritrean military. It means that it's not that peace deal is collapsing, but there are still pending issues between Tigray regional government and Ethiopian federal government. and the issues are linked to the presence of Eritrean military and Amhara forces in Tigray. Can these issues be resolved through dialogue, or is there fear of resumption of armed hostilities? It's too early to say. Overall pace of implementation of peace deal is slow. Disarmament was due to come to an end in the first week of this month, but it could not be completed. And now we are seeing start of this new campaign. So there are still unresolved issues between the two sides. Let's hope, let's pray that everything is resolved peacefully. People in Tigray are starting to receive food. We are starting to see electricity in Mekelle, in Shire, in areas on Ethiopia, Sudan border, in Humera.